retirement planning and works with a lot of people that are wealthy.
Yeah, and also with everyone else, us bottom feeders, I'll call it. Sometimes do we pay our bills first, or do we pay ourselves first? We pay into retirement. I think a lot of people struggle on where we want to place that money because we live in the here and the now.
Yeah, and according to a new study, a third of workers have almost no retirement savings whatsoever. In fact, I'm doing a loan for somebody right now that they're 40 years old, him and his wife, and I said to him, I said, do you have any 401k? I just started it, and I have about $1,500. Does your wife have any? No.
Ooh.
Do you have anything whatsoever? IRAs, Roth IRAs, or whatever? No.
Oh.
I'm like, this is what a lot of America is.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I just started my 401k like 5 or 6 years ago.
Hey, at least you started.
At least I started. Okay,
Right.
so we want to welcome Jeff Cummins to the show. He's with Spectrum Financial Group. He's going to give us a little financial Q&A right now. Jeff, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks again for having me.
You're welcome, Jeff, and it's great to have you on. Many people are woefully unprepared for financially for retirement. You know, one of the things is, how much do people need when it comes to retirement, Jeff?
It's a good question. I think it depends. It's probably a case-by-case answer, of course. We find that most people tend to live on, in retirement, about 80% of what they were used to living on pre-retirement. There's obviously, outlying cases on that, I suppose, but it's typically, it's more than they were thinking that they were going to need when we figure in taxes and inflation and longevity and some of those kind of things. But 80% of what you were used to living on is a general rule.
Yeah, I saw a report the other day that said the average person felt that they needed about $475,000 for retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, that might be in the first year.
Okay.
Or
Yeah,
two.
hopefully they're not gonna-
I'm just teasing, okay? But what I'm saying by that is, a lot of times if you think about it, you're eating up principal, and if you're making $5,000 a month and you have 80% of that, that's $4,000 a month. Your $475,000, Jeff, unless you're just an investment guru, you're not going to last very long on that. And Social Security is not very much today.
No, you're exactly right. We hear that a lot, that people feel like when I get to 65, if I don't have a mortgage and my kids are gone, I only need maybe $4,000 or $5,000 a month to live on. And, the devil is in the details with that for sure, because that number is in today's dollars, and that might be a 45-year-old that we're talking to, and that $4,000 really needs to be $8,000 when they're 65 or 70. And then ultimately, in order to generate that, we have to, we have taxes associated with that typically, and then they're going to have inflation throughout retirement. And I think people just don't realize, the impact of inflation and taxes. And then also, I heard this analogy the other day that when you go on vacation, do you spend more or less money? You probably spend more. And that's what retirement basically is. It's kind of like vacation. We find that most people, when they pull the trigger and retire, they don't want to take a big step back in lifestyle. They want to do that bucket list, and they've got grandkids now they never thought about, and and then on top of that, we model, as we talked about last show, our models out to 95 years old, and they just don't realize the cost of retirement and the size of bucket of money that they're going to need to make everything play out the way that ideally they want to.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. And the reason being is people say, what's their number one thing that you want to do when you retire?
Travel.
Most people say travel the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not really cheap to travel the world.
Not at all.
And so you start having these things, and then all of a sudden you're sitting there going, wow, I need more money. I need more money, and then I didn't plan. So, Jeff, at what age should people really start putting money into retirement plans? And also, the part two of that question is, so many people just put money in retirement plans, but they don't have a savings account. They don't have a backup plan. It's all in the retirement account because it's forced discipline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the age question, of course, most people understand time value of money, and the sooner you start saving, the more your interest can compound and build interest on interest. And so most people understand that. Now, whether they're actually saving early enough and the right amount is a different story, as we've talked about, but it's never too late. It's something that I think most would agree on. And I think you make a great point, Rodney, in that the 401k is the layup, first place to start typically, but that's one part of the puzzle is how we look at that. You never want to leave any match dollars on the table. Most people understand that, but over and above that, it's, well, should I do the pre-tax option or should I do the Roth option instead of my 401k? How much should I have in emergency reserves? Do I need some liquid money, maybe because I want to retire before 59 and a half, or we can't get that 401k money until age 59 and a half. And so building a plan as, having that as one of the components is key.
Yeah, because here's what happens. People have, a couple $1,000s in checking. They have $1,000 or $2,000 in savings, and then they got $80,000 in their 401k. And then all of a sudden you run in where you need money and you can't do it on your credit cards because you maxed them out or something like that. You turn and you look at your 401k. Well, all of a sudden, depending on your tax bracket, let's say you're in a 30% tax bracket and you got a 10% penalty, you've just given away 40% of your money if you need some of that money. So that $80,000 is now substantially less.
Right.
And so that's one of the beliefs that I have, this is me personally, that you have to have also liquid money, money in investments and all that, money that you can truly touch, Jeff, so you're not just giving away your money to the government and you have no control over that part.
Right. It's definitely a balance because the government is incentivizing us to save for both college and retirement. They do give us the tax benefits using the 401k, for example. They incentivize us to put the money in there and lock it up long term, and for that trade-off, we get to either deduct those contributions, on our taxes or have Roth contributions and never pay any taxes. So we've got significant tax benefits for using the plan. It just can't be the only one because, to your point, life happens and need a new car, new roof on the house, and we need, a bucket of money that is liquid, even though it's taxable. That liquidity, is an important piece of your financial plan too.
No, I'm cutting you off.
No. We have this thing where we hold up our finger on who's going to ask the next question.
Don't you want to hear from the woman's perspective right now?
Go ahead.
See, you're not such a playground bully. Jeff, I'm worst case scenario that is even possible because I'm a single mom, and you think about saving money for your child in college and all of that. You don't think about yourself first.
No, you don't. A lot of times, and that can be dangerous because a lot of times we want to put our kids first, of course. But ultimately, the problem that we see is that if you haven't taken care of yourself as well, ultimately you're going to become a burden financially on your child down the road when you're these people we're talking about that haven't saved. And the old adage is true too, that you can borrow for college and you can't borrow for retirement. So it probably needs to be a balance, and if you had to overweight one of them, there's a good argument to make for overweighting your savings towards saving for your retirement than putting all your eggs in one basket from a college standpoint.
Jeff, you deal with a lot of people that have money. What are some of the characteristics that they have that others don't?
It's a good question. I think they know how to prioritize. And they, instead of coming in and saying, Jeff, I want to save more and I've got $100 a month to save. Instead, they have flipped that budget kind of upside down and said, I'm going to pay myself first and then spend whatever's left. And they've created a system, and typically a system of buckets, and ideally it's a system that's automated to where we take out, the need for you to do things manually throughout the year. But they've created a system that they're comfortable with and they're confident with that automatically has money going, 4 or 5 different places typically every month. And they're saving the amounts that they need to save, which we've talked about this, is probably about 20 to 25% of their gross income. Really good general rule that we found. And they do that, and they do it, for a long period of time. And that takes all the magic out of it. I mean, that takes all the variables out when you have a system that you work for a long time and you save that 20 to 25%.
Yeah, and I think successful people, there's a method to it. There is a method of saving. What they do is they take that percentage of their paycheck, and this is what I try to do with the younger people in our office and all that. Some people they've gotten raises and they've done better than they've done before. It's okay to take that money and put it into the savings account because you're not used to that money.
Yep.
Keep 50% of it for yourself, but put 50% of that other money in there. And I've shared this story several times, but I just got a statement the other day again. Tatum, my grandson, I started a a 529 retirement plan for him now about 3 years ago, and at $500 a month. $500 a month doesn't sound like a lot, does it?
It does.
It does. But it does. Okay, but I mean, $500 a month. Think about this. You are a person that gets paid, and you put $500 a month away. His account now is $20,000. And it's not just because he's three.
3 years old.
But it's not even about him being three. It's consistency, and I don't care if you're 33, 43, or 53. If you put $500 a month away, or you put that $6,000 a year bonus away, then how fast does that money grow? And that's that retirement part that we can get to, Jeff.
Jeff keeps saying you need a bucket of money. I want to know where this bucket is. I need a bucket.
There's a hole in my bucket.
There's a big old hole in my bucket.
That's right.
Rodney, I think you hit the nail on the head with something a minute ago, that when you find a dollar, you need a system to capture it. If you get a bonus, you get a raise, you pay off a credit card, to your point, you're used to seeing that outflow. So now that you've found that dollar, you need a system, kind of back to that, of how to reallocate that. And that's easy. I mean, now you don't have to make major lifestyle changes to find money. You just found money. You just need to capture it, or it will get spent.
All right, Amy and Rob, I want you to visualize this. People visualize. Everybody driving down the road, visualize this. Don't close your eyes. You guys can close your eyes. You're in the studio. Visualize this. You go to your mailbox, and you open up a statement. And in that account, you have $100,000 in that account.
I love this.
How would that make you feel?
I would be like, they addressed this to the wrong person.
Yeah, I mean, what happened? What's wrong here?
See, so it sounds like everybody just needs to call you, Jeff, so they can visualize that money, right?
Yeah, that would be good.
All right, Jeff.
Happy to help.
Yeah, Jeff is fantastic at what he does, and I would highly recommend him. Jeff, give out your phone number to everybody and where everybody can find you, sir.
Sure. Local office here in North Dallas. Phone number is 972-455-4360.
All right, we appreciate you, sir, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, when we come back...